Force lightning was one of the most powerful Force abilities, reserved only for the most powerful Sith Lords. Force lightning drew heavily upon the dark side, most notably pure hatred. Vader was filled with nothing but hatred, and at least in canon, was one of the only Force users with the potential to use Force lightning's most powerful variation, Red Force lightning. Despite this crazy amount of potential, Vader never used Force lightning. However, the Darth Vader of the Old Republic era, Darth Malgus, was extremely proficient with Force lightning, despite also requiring a cybernetic suit to survive. Malgus was even able to use Force Maelstrom, an extremely dangerous variation of Force lightning, similar to the Force lightning bomb ability used by Starkiller. So how come Malgus could use Force lightning while Vader could not? This video will first explore all the reasons why Vader could not use Force lightning, before delving into why Malgus did not suffer from the same weaknesses. And if you are enjoying these longer videos here on my second channel, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and watch until the end for the YouTube algorithm, so I know to keep making these daily videos. But before we start, a little disclaimer, because I know there'll be loads of comments about it if I don't mention it first. There were a few times where Vader might have used Force lightning, although I would argue that he didn't. In canon, Vader was seen using something very similar to Force lightning when he bled his kyber crystal. However, this action very nearly kills him, and I would argue it was just the energy from the bleeding process. In Legends, we see him use a similar ability called Kenetite. However, this wasn't actually Force lightning, but kinetic Force energy. This is not channeled through the body like Force lightning, but rather is created remotely outside of his body, with the Dark Lord only really able to do this due to the effects of the kyber crystal. So with all of that out the way, why didn't Vader use Force lightning? Well, it certainly wasn't because he couldn't use it. As already mentioned, in canon, Vader had the potential to wield Red Force lightning, the most powerful form of Force lightning that not even Palpatine could master. However, as we know, Vader never reached his potential thanks to his little accident on Mustafar. Force lightning needed to be channeled through living flesh before being discharged through the fingers. After the events of Mustafar, Vader no longer had limbs, therefore preventing him from channeling and discharging the energy effectively. However, this wasn't the main reason. Palpatine purposely didn't give Vader a state-of-the-art suit. In fact, it was pretty outdated. This made it highly susceptible to Force lightning, and therefore making him far easier for the Emperor to control. As we saw in Return of the Jedi, just a short burst of Force lightning was enough to fry his life support and kill him. If Vader had tried to channel Force lightning, it would likely have done more damage to himself than his opponent. So with all that said, why could Malgus use Force lightning? After all, he also relied on a cybernetic suit to survive. Again, there were a few reasons. Malgus's injuries were far less dramatic than Vader's, therefore his cybernetics did not encompass so much of his body. It was said that over 50% of Vader's body was machine, significantly more than Malgus. As Malgus still had more of his organic flesh, most importantly his arms, he was able to channel the lightning much more effectively. Despite living almost 4,000 years before Vader, his cybernetics were far more sophisticated. As we discussed earlier, Vader was deliberately weakened by Palpatine to make him easier to control. Malgus did not have this issue and was able to get his hands on a state-of-the-art cybernetic suit, which was likely insulated from Force lightning. What's more, Malgus was likely more well-trained in the mysteries of the Force than Vader. He has been seen using Force Maelstrom as well as Tutor, suggesting a degree of control over this ability matched by very few. Tutor is the ability most famously used by Grandmaster Yoda to absorb Force lightning, while Force Maelstrom was essentially a violent burst of lightning energy, requiring immense control and skill. This degree of control over Force lightning likely allowed him to keep lightning away from any sensitive electronics in his life support system. Vader was never taught how to control Force lightning, as this would have posed a threat to Palpatine. With less serious injuries, an upgraded suit, or the knowledge of how to control it, Vader could have been one of the most dangerous practitioners of Force lightning, on par with the Sun in terms of raw power and leagues above Darth Malgus or even Palpatine. If you would like me to do an in-depth video on Red Force lightning or other variations, then let me know down below. Thank you for watching guys, and as always, may the Force be with you.